There is a Chinese robot on Mars, and it has discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about the red planet. For decades, the question has lingered, was there ever life on Mars? America has been looking for the answer since the 1970s. The Soviets tried, even the British gave it a shot. But right now, China might be closer to the truth than anyone has ever been. This is Zhurong. It's not the biggest rover out there, roughly the size of NASA's Spirit and Opportunity missions from 2004. But for a first attempt, landing on Mars is an almost impossible achievement. And yet Zhurong didn't just land. It discovered something buried deep beneath the sand that has scientists rethinking the entire history of the solar system. To understand why this is such a massive deal, we have to look at the scorecard. Before China, only 3 space programs had ever successfully soft-landed on Mars. The Soviet Union was first in 1971. Mars, 3 touchdown, transmitted 1 grainy low-resolution photo, and then went silent forever. Then there was the United Kingdom. In 2004, the Beagle 2 probe landed on Christmas Day, but its solar panels got stuck during deployment. It sat there, fully intact, but completely dead on the surface. And then, of course, there's NASA. They are the gold standard. From Viking in '76 to Perseverance and that tiny helicopter Ingenuity, they made Mars exploration look easy. So when China announced they were sending Zhurong in 2020, the odds were stacked against them. They had only done 2 moon landings. Mars is notoriously hostile. It's often called the Bermuda Triangle of space. To maximize their chances, China chose a safe landing zone, Utopia Planitia. It's flat, it's boring, and it's geologically stable. But here is the thing about Utopia Planitia. It isn't boring at all. In fact, it might be hiding a secret that NASA accidentally buried 50 years ago. In 1976, NASA's Viking 2 landed in almost the exact same region of Mars that Zhurong is exploring today. Scientists back then were almost certain they would find life. So they ran an experiment. Here is the simplified version. They scooped up some Martian soil. They injected it with water and nutrients. The theory was simple: if there are microbes in the dirt, they will drink the water, eat the food, and fart CO2. And that's exactly what happened. The soil released gas. Aliens, right? Case closed. But then they did part 2 of the experiment. They added more water. And instead of producing more CO2, the reaction stopped. The signal died. NASA's conclusion: it wasn't life. It was just a weird chemical reaction. But here's the theory that never went away. What if the Martian life was so adapted to the dry environment that flooding it with water didn't feed it, drowned it? We went to Mars looking for fish, and we found something that needed to barely sip. And we killed it by being too generous. That is the ghost that has haunted Mars exploration for half a century. And it's the context you need to understand why Zhurong's discoveries are so unsettling. Zhurong is equipped with something Viking didn't have: ground-penetrating radar. It's exactly what it sounds like. The rover shoots radio waves into the ground and maps what's underneath, like a CT scan for the planet. And what it found, buried between 10 and 35 meters below the surface, was a series of 76 distinct layers. These layers weren't flat. They were tilted. They all sloped toward the north. Geologically speaking, there is only one way this structure forms on Earth: flowing water depositing sediment over millions of years. Zhurong was driving on top of an ancient coastline. This isn't just evidence that Mars had water. This is evidence that Mars had a sustained, active hydrological cycle for tens of millions of years. Water flowing down from the highlands, dumping sediment into a massive northern ocean. But the big surprise was the timeline. We used to think Mars dried up completely about 3 billion years ago. But the radar data suggests otherwise. The deepest layers date back 3 billion years. But the upper layers, those date back to only 1.6 billion years ago. That means the water didn't just disappear. It came back. It flooded. It retreated. And then it came back again. Mars wasn't a dead planet. It was a planet with seasons. Ocean seasons. But here is where it gets really strange. Zhurong left the coastline and started climbing these long, low sand dunes. They're only about a meter high, easy terrain for a rover. And on top of these dunes, Zhurong found a crust, a hard, dark, cracked, salty crust, running up to 8 centimeters deep. This is physically weird. Sand dunes on Mars are constantly being blasted by wind. A crust like that shouldn't be able to form. It would erode instantly. Unless it formed recently. The leading theory is that water vapor drifted down from the Martian North Pole, condensed into snow, fell on these dunes, and melted. The salt left behind by the ancient ocean acted like a disar, lowering the melting point and creating liquid water, and when that water evaporated, it cemented the sand into a crust. Now, here is the number that broke the internet. Chinese researchers estimate this happened as recently as 400,000 years ago. That is not ancient history. That is yesterday, geologically speaking. 400,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were already walking the earth. Neanderthals were roaming Europe, and on Mars, snow was falling on the equator. So, what is driving this? On Earth, we have something called Milankovitch cycles. These are slow, predictable changes in our orbit and rotation that affect our climate. We wobble. Our tilt shifts between 22 and 24 degrees. Our orbit stretches from round to oval and back again. These cycles happen over tens of thousands of years, and they trigger ice ages and warm periods. We know Mars has similar variations, and if the tilt of Mars gets high enough, the polar ice caps warm up, releasing water vapor into the atmosphere. That vapor travels south, falls as snow, and melts when it hits the salt-covered ground. So Mars isn't static, it pulses. Which brings us back to the question of life. If water has been appearing on Mars intermittently for billions of years, right up until the last 500,000 years, then the window for life isn't a narrow crack. It's a wide, revolving door. And if life did evolve there, it didn't evolve in a stable ocean. It evolved to survive desiccation. To hibernate for millennia, to wake up, hydrate, reproduce, and dry out again. We may have already scooped it up, drowned it, and thrown it in the trash in 1976. As for Zhurong, the rover was designed to last 90 days. It survived 358. In May of 2022, a massive dust storm swept across Utopia, Planitia. Zhurong entered sleep mode to conserve power, hoping the solar panels wouldn't be completely buried. We haven't heard from it since. But this isn't the end. In 2028, China plans to launch Tianwen-3, a sample return mission. For the first time in history, we will bring Martian soil back to Earth. And this time, we'll know what to look for. We won't drown it. We won't burn it. We'll treat it like the alien artifact it is. Maybe we'll find out that we were never alone. Or maybe we'll find out that we were, but only just barely. Let me know in the comments. If you want to stay for the next deep dive, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'm Rana Asif.